When we think about the idea behind 9 billion schools of completely customizable, personalized learning, it's actually in the school environment, the actual school environment, where it's probably the easiest and the hardest to accomplish. Easy from the standpoint that what they're doing every day revolves around the idea of education. So how do you begin to sort of customize that education to an individual's learning needs? Hardest from the standpoint that there are all of these different imperatives coming at the school community.
Right. We know there's a lot of work going on today, a lot of really good work, but we know that as we look out to the future, it's not enough. So how do you think we could approach sort of traditional education, the traditional built environment education, a little bit differently?
As we engage with educators in those spaces, the K-20 space or early childhood for that matter, that the thinking process of giving people the opportunity to learn in a very personalized and in a very individualized way has already started to happen. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that happening in a variety of school environments at all levels, but it's not enough yet. And there's still great emphasis on some of the techniques that have been used in the past that are not, frankly, going to be all that significant going forward.
Absolutely, and what 9 billion schools gives us is a broader net. It's a place for us to collect and curate and incubate ideas. It allows us to fund and promote collaboration because ultimately we want individuals to be able to come together and collectively solve the world's big problems, not just for this generation, but for generations to come.
So if you think that, as we go through the educational environment of K-20, we're setting the foundation for what's coming in the future, then the next point in most people's lives is going into the workforce. So talk to us a little bit about what this means in the workforce.
Well, the interesting thing about work, the really interesting thing about work is we spend most of our lives there. We spend most of our lives working. You have the traditional education and then our lives sort of in the workplace. But the thing about the workplace is we spend so much time there learning. We are learning to do our jobs better, we're learning new skills, we're building new products, coming up with new services, and it becomes really interesting when you start thinking about the emergence of design thinking, and really specifically, the technological evolution is really forcing us to revalue human labor.
That's absolutely true. And in fact, there's been a recent study done of 10,000 businesses worldwide to focus in on what were the top 10 trends in human capital. And the 5th trend was learning, and the 6th trend was design thinking. So absolutely, you're right on track.
And we're beginning to see businesses understanding that knowledge and learning and training isn't just something that is good to do. It actually gives them a strategic advantage, that actually learning and this type of learning is good for business.
We're seeing businesses actually build their strategic plans, businesses build their business development strategies around this idea. And we're also seeing that this is a factor in employees choosing which businesses they want to go into.
Right, this type of vision draws employees to you, draws people to you, but then it becomes that strategic differentiator. We all know that the #1 most valued asset in any organization, in any company, is its people. And 9 billion schools allows us to fuel that, to keep them energized, to keep them engaged, not only in their work, but throughout their community, and prepare them for even things that we don't even know what's going to happen, but it allows them to be prepared for the future.
And create added value for their careers.
So 9 billion schools values the whole human. So let's talk about the fun part of being human, leisure, right? The things that we do that enrich us as human beings, that allow us to express ourselves outside of education and outside of work, but really also make up who we are.
And in fact, I think this is really where the notion of life-wide comes into play, because we are talking about the whole human. And as you said, we're greater than the sum of just our school experiences and our work experiences. And in fact, the things that we do with the rest of our lives enhance those experiences as we have them as well. I think we all realize that, if you want to learn to ski or you want to learn to scuba dive, you're going to go out and you're probably going to take some skiing lessons, you're going to take some scuba diving lessons, you're not just going to strap on the equipment and go for a dive, right? So imagine if we were to think about learning a little bit differently as it applies to our leisure time. So we've taken kind of a variety of different types of environments, and as a design firm, we've said, well, if these environments were used not just for the purpose that we think of as would being normal, what if we were designing the environments to actually facilitate learning that occurs there? And it's produced some really interesting experiments. What if when you go to a restaurant, you have the opportunity to not only have a pleasurable, enjoyable, fun evening with friends or whatever, but you also have the opportunity to now learn about how your food's been prepared, where it comes from, maybe get restaurant or cooking tips from the chef or the maitre d'. So imagine if a cafe was actually designed around the idea of a place that you could go to learn.
What you can do is start to infuse people's lives with learning, because that's what gives people passion. And so why wouldn't it just be their hobbies? Because people always commit to their hobbies and they don't even know, because they're enjoying it so much. They don't know that they're actually learning and they're going through education. And so why not do that in every aspect of our lives? And that to me is one of the powers that lives inside of 9 billion schools.